Thank you very much. There we go. Okay. Good morning, good day. Hoya Locker Room, episode 46. We got a special episode today. We have Horace Broadnax, who's a returnee, head coach at Savannah State. We have Larry Lewis, assistant coach, UC Santa Barbara. We have Harold Ellis. Let me mention two Morehouse grads on the show today. Harold Lewis is now director of pro scouting. Harold Ellis, pro scouting at with the Detroit Pistons, and of course, Markham Stansbury, who will be the MC today. I just locked you in. You cannot leave. And this is a special show, as we like to do here at Hoya Locker Room. We like to celebrate those who have come through a basketball journey, a process, like to give back. We like to hear their voices, and sometimes these voices aren't heard often enough. The fact that Horace Broadnax is now coaching at a HBCU is important, being a Georgetown grad. And these two gentlemen, their basketball odyssey is very impressive, and I hope we can get into that and touch on that. I'm going to turn over to Markham for some other intros, and then we'll get right into the show today. I'm excited about this one.
Well, no really intros, but I do want to say, shout out to my man Robert Crawford for reconnecting me with Harold. Rob's my best friend. Actually, this is just for him. He's my second best friend. And Larry Lewis is old school friend. We had some battles on the court together. Maybe that'll come up. Because you two guys are Morehouse men, something I don't use.
There you go. All right.
That's huge for a Hoya to do that. That's huge.
That's
huge.
That's the love I got for y'all. So I'm gonna dip behind the curtain, and y'all have a great show.
Thank you, Stan.
So fellas, I hope you realize that that's what you mean to us in Hoya Nation. We really appreciate you jumping in here. There's a common thread here that I think will come through as we chop it up a little bit. I think each and every one of you gentlemen have an esteemed, illustrious career. You put in the time, you put in the work, and it spans continents, NBA, MEAC, HBCU, Big East. So I guess I want to kind of start there, and I'm going to start with the Morehouse men. Just selecting it to go to a HBCU, did you feel a greater sense of responsibility? Was it one of those things where you were just going where you were recruited? Was there people in the family that had directed you there? I'd like to talk about what inspired you to go there.
Okay, you want me to go, Larry?
Go ahead, H.
All right, yeah. So it's interesting. For me, my parents both were HBCU alums. They went to Clark College at that time. Now it's Clark Atlanta University. So basically, everybody in my family went to Clark, which is kind of crazy because I don't know if you guys know, that's like one of Morehouse's like arch rivals, Clark, as far as in sports and stuff. So growing up, I only kind of knew I knew about HBCUs. And when I got to about the 9th grade, I wanted to be different because I grew up like a Clark fan, but ironically, Clark never recruited me. And Morehouse, I came up in a neighborhood where, we had a lot of guys in professionals, Maynard Jackson. It was just Martin Luther King. It was just a lot of people from Atlanta that actually went to Morehouse. So before even basketball, a lot of people don't know this. So, and I think this is with a lot of HBCUs. So for me, with not even knowing if they had a basketball team or not, I'd already decided about 10th grade, I wanted to go to Morehouse. I wanted to go to a really good HBCU and a really good school. But I said a really good school first. Then I realized how important it was as far as being an HBCU. And then the basketball actually came along second. If that's kind of hard to believe, because I don't know if you guys know, I only played basketball, and I didn't play basketball until my last year in high school, because my high school coach cut me pretty much every year into my last year. So look, basketball was second for me going to Morehouse. It was whole academic piece and me going to be a doctor and all this stuff. I had all these other crazy dreams, being a Morehouse man, all that kind of stuff, which, didn't come true about going to medical school, any of that stuff. But that's how I chose Morehouse.
Mr. Lewis.
Yeah, so my ride was a little different. I was 6'3", graduated from high school at 6'3", so wasn't recruited out of high school from any school. But my mom's from Tuskegee, Alabama. My dad's from Columbus, Mississippi. So my dad went to Howard. My mom went to Tuskegee Institute. At the time, it was Tuskegee Institute. And they said, well, get an education. So got into Morehouse. And my first 2 years there, I was just a regular student, but I grew about 2.5 inches. So I always played for fun, intramural and all that. And I remember after the season, there were a couple guys from the team. We were playing pickup. They said, man, you should try out. So by this time, I'm about, 6'5", almost 6'6". And the next year I try out, I grew a little more and I just walked on and earned a scholarship from there. So after high school, I thought basketball was over. Ended up playing for Morehouse and playing professionally for about 19 years. So I thought it was over after high school, actually. But it was good to be a part of what we were able to accomplish there. And sometimes, what we think things are or what it looks like to us, God says, no, I'm not done with you yet. You got some work left to do in the sport. So it was good in that way. That's how it worked out for me.
Awesome. So Horace, I guess what I'll pose to you, Horace, coming from the de facto HBCU, and now you're head coach of the HBCU. What's that feeling like? And I definitely want to get into the careers because I have a tendency to focus so much on my appreciation for the journey that each guest takes. But what was that like for you, Horace? Like combining those worlds, finally converging.
Just kind of like Harold and Larry, man. My parents, my father went to FAMU for a year, and my mother didn't go to school. But in the state of Florida, it was either Bethune-Cookman College or Florida A&M University, and I have a lot of friends and family from both institutions. So it's very interesting that I started my coaching career at FAMU as a volunteer. I was trying to get a job everywhere, but I couldn't get one. And all of a sudden, I looked at FAMU roster coaching, and they only had one assistant coach on there. And there was a Division I program, so you could have 3. So I told the guy, I said, hey, man, I see you got some slots open. He said, yeah, I got some slots open, but I ain't got no money. So that's how I got my start at FAMU, and then volunteered there, and then bumped over to Bethune-Cookman College, which was interesting because, had a lot of fans, friends and family that love FAMU, friends and family that love Bethune-Cookman College. So he's going back and forth between those two institutions. And, just being at a historically Black college, it's been great. I think I've spent well over 20 years. I keep asking one of these institutions to give me an honorary PhD, I've been here 20 plus years, but it's been fun. It's been, you always want to try to move up, but the longer I stay here, it's been great, specifically, during these past year with all this racial upheaval with George Floyd being on a HBCU campus. It's been great. I tell people it's been a safe place, really, because you don't have to let your hair down. You always come in with your hair down, So it's been fun doing recruitment. I'm pretty sure Harold and Larry, when y'all come back. I guarantee y'all done came back to Morehouse homecoming, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
A Morehouse homecoming.
Yeah, absolutely.
How many homecomings you been back to, Gene? You got to think 2. But,
right.
That's one of the beautiful things of HBCU is homecoming, and you just see everybody just, hey man, what's going on? And it's just a great environment. I don't think I've been back to one Georgetown homecoming, and that's the beautiful thing about an HBCU is the platform is already there for African Americans, and it's a beautiful thing. And that's one of the things I used to put in my recruitment when I'm going up against a PWI is that, hey man, I guarantee you, over your lifetime, you'll be back on this campus several times as opposed to that PWI. And like I see all my former players, they just having a good time and just glad to be back on campus. But the experience has been real good. It's been real good.
Wow. First of all, I usually don't get asked the question. So that you caught me off guard because you actually asked for my input. I try to make it all about the guests. But now you got my train of thought. I'd love for the Morehouse men to share what that feeling is like, going back, always having that support system. And also if you can articulate how some of those guiding principles from Morehouse have helped you in your professional career, because your professional careers are expansive. So I'd like to hear how that, and not without ups and downs, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about there's a legacy about Morehouse that I think I want to really salute. The scholars, the professionalism, the achievement that has come out of the institution paves the way for us and for any young Black man to come through the institution. There's already a stamp on the college. And I just want to, send a gesture of gratitude and recognize all the scholars and all the high achievers that came before us, because now when we come, it's already, I don't want to say assumed, but there's already a sense of how can I say, quality, and not saying that that's not with other institutions, but I know that we can't take credit for the privilege that we've had for going there, and the privilege that is on the name of the school. So when people ask me where I went to school and I say Morehouse, and they say, oh, I have something to live up to. And just being a product of my upbringing, I have something to live up to as well. I mentioned earlier, my parents are from the South. So one thing I noticed different about people from the South, forget about the institution, forget about anything else, is that we understand what manners are. And manners is something that we cherish, we respect it, and it's very important in how we treat others. And Morehouse is consistent with that. And there are a lot of Black institutions that are really high level and produce a good product, within the graduates and stuff like that. So I think when we express ourselves in a positive light professionally, there's a lot that the school has to offer, because you're surrounded by people that have aspirations. Harold mentioned he wanted to be a doctor. That alone is a level of thought. It's an expectation in life that is a respectable profession. And so I think that that's a part of it. It's just like a basketball player. When you put into a higher environment amongst better players, you're probably gonna play a little better. And Horace, I'm sure that the athletes that come to you, you hold them to a standard, they probably play a little better than before they got to you. And that's the same thing with the college experience, and then moving forward after graduating. So I'd like to say that about that. I don't want to take all the time, H.
Oh, man, no problem. I'm just going to piggyback on some of what Larry said. So I kind of wrote down 3 things that that made me Morehouse. And I'm gonna say this because it happens in your professional career and it happens in your personal life. So the 3 things I jotted down to, like, for Morehouse, because look, it's a lot of historically Black schools out there. I just think Morehouse is the best one. That's just my personal opinion. But this is what Morehouse did for me. It's three things that Morehouse did. Morehouse, one thing, like Larry said, is so many high achievers. I was an inner city kid from Atlanta, went to public school. So you get to Morehouse, you have all these smart dudes from private school, high-end public schools, a lot of stuff. So it's a lot to live up to, for one thing. So it makes you work extremely hard. The second thing I put was competition at Morehouse. The competition is in the classroom and in the, for me, in the basketball, in the gym. So Larry was my direct competition. So he was really, really good. So you had to be like good every day. And then the same thing with take it from the classroom at Morehouse. All of these guys, you know, look, I dreamed of being a doctor, but everybody was super smart at Morehouse. It was just, the academics was great. It just brought me up as an academic person to try to hang with these guys. And I can't explain it because it carried over into basketball. And another thing that I experienced at Morehouse was fraternity. And I have to bring it up because I always talk about these doctors, and Larry mentioned educators and all these guys. So I pledged Kappa, and that's Pi chapter of Kappa outside Morehouse, right? All of these guys are like really, really smart, and they're doing something on my line and previous lines and before, they're all doing something. So what's ironic about it is I felt like I was like a zero online with all these dudes, because all these dudes are going to be a doctor, pastors, businessmen, all these people. And to be honest with you, at Morehouse, an athlete, Larry, remember, athlete was just like a guy. It was like, see, Georgetown, if I was at Georgetown, an athlete get all the special privileges. At Morehouse.
Right.
Hey, Horace, that's what he think, Horace.
Okay, right. Well, at Morehouse, it doesn't get to the front of the cafeteria line. So you got to be doing something else. I was on a line with 4 guys or 3 guys with 4.0s, doctors, 3 doctors. I mean, I'm talking about exceptional guys. And I was probably and I used to look back and say, man, how am I gonna compete? But what it helped me, I didn't realize being online with those guys at my chapter, being on teammate of Larry, being just in the school, I didn't realize when I got ready to have a chance at becoming a professional athlete, I didn't realize it gave me a different kind of fight, a different level of fight. I was more prepared because I'd been battle tested. Now, a lot of times, all these guys play on TV, they play on CBS, ABC, NBC, but Larry Lewis and we were the king of BET. I don't even know if BET is around anymore, but I'm gonna tell you this. We weekly had our chance to show on BET and we made the best of it, but I'm gonna tell you, we were battle tested. And for those 3 things, Morehouse College tested me first, competition in the gym tested me second, and the men of Kappa and Morehouse tested me again, because all those guys achieved, like Larry was talking about. We just so many achievers around, man. It's just hard to fail when you're in that kind of environment. So when I got to the NBA, that was like nothing for me, because nobody had ever done it. You know what I mean? That was easy for me. And like for Larry, he's been coaching. We've both been working the league. He's coaching, whatever. It's just easy because we were in such a high level competition in college that it just didn't make a difference. You know, it didn't make a difference.
Before I jump over the juice to Horace, I'd like to ask Harold, did your grandmother have anything to do with your scholarship?
Wow. A lot of people don't know that story. Okay, I'm gonna go back then. Okay, so
yeah, we're gonna make you go back.
I'm gonna go back. All right. I kind of skip over the part where I never played basketball in high school, right? So here we go. I didn't play basketball in high school. I averaged like 3 points a game. Larry, I know you had a good high school career. All these guys didn't even know I was going to play basketball in college. That's how crazy this story is going to be. So I'm playing for a high school, Douglas High School in Atlanta, which we were ranked in the nation at the time. We ranked in the nation and we were like in top in the state. Really good. I had like 3 All-Americans. Everybody played. I was the 16th man on the team. So, but in practice, I was the best practice player we had in that group. So that's one thing I can say. So my grandmother is a coach, assistant coach at Morehouse named Grady Brewer, is one of my good friends now. He came to see me practice at Morehouse. Well, my grandmother told him at church, hey, you got to go see my son. He plays at Douglas High School. Coach Brewer's like, I went to Douglas High School.
You said the church, right? You said the church.
Yeah,
right?
the church. Yeah, the church. Yeah, the church. And go back to it because I'm going to tell you what happened. And I'm going to bring it back. So well, at that time he was Coach Brewer. My grandmother pulls him over in church and says, hey, you got to go see my grandson. He's at Douglas High School playing. And Coach Brewer says, I know all the good players at Douglas. Who is your son? She was like, he's Harold Ellis. I'm telling you, he's really good. He just don't get to play. The coach don't play him. So Coach Brewer's heard these stories probably a million times. He said, okay, I'm going to go over there and see him. He comes to practice. I don't even know my grandmother said this. So I'm going to go back to how it is. And this is how it is with a lot of HBCUs. A lot of times people pray for you that you don't even know praying for you. And I think that's huge because my grandmother was working behind the scenes for me to go to Morehouse College, and I didn't even know. You know what I mean? I had no idea. Coach Brewer comes and watches practice, never says anything. We have a game. I play 15 seconds. I'm talking about 15 seconds. I'm in the locker room. So the high school coach comes in and says, hey, Ellis, some college out here want to see you. Now, at the time, I didn't even know he knew Coach Brewer. And I said, a college? I said, really? Okay. I get in the game, get a dunk. That's it. That's it. That's it. I'm telling you, 15 seconds. We were up 30 points. 15 seconds. I come out the gym. Coach Brewer tells me, hey, I'm Coach Brewer from Morehouse. And I said, Morehouse? And then I didn't realize Morehouse really had a basketball team because my dad was all Clark and he didn't like dudes at Morehouse anyway. My dad used to be like, I don't like Morehouse guys. So I never thought they had a team, to be honest with you. So I said, Morehouse? He's like, yeah. He said, yeah, man, I think you're pretty good. I said, Coach, I ain't even play. He's like, no. Your grandmother got me at church and she's been asking me every weekend to come see you play. And I'm saying, like, my grandma. And I was really close to my grandmother. And long story short, Coach Brewer said, hey, look, I'm going to come back. We'll see. I remember I broke my wrist in high school my last year. He comes and offers me a scholarship when I had a cast him on. I couldn't believe it. I said, either Morehouse is really bad, sports-wise, they're getting a guy with a broke arm that didn't play in high school, or he really thinks I'm good. But see, he's a Morehouse man too. So I'm gonna go back to what Larry said. Seeing HBCUs like Coach Broadnax, you know what he has to do? He pumps life into these boys. He pumps life into them. He gives them like the strength and the courage that you wouldn't have. I probably wouldn't have been Harold Ellis at Georgia Tech or Duke or wherever it is. This guy, Coach Brewer, pumped a different kind of life into me because my grandmama pumped it into him. He pumped it into me like, see, Coach Broadnax is more of a father, brother than more of a coach at his institution. You know, it's just, I can't explain it, but it's not Coach K. It's not Bobby Cremins. It's not, you know, these guys, you know. And look, John Thompson, which I have a great relationship. I got to tell you that story later, but like he was more of that during that time with Georgetown, but it was none of those places. But this guy, Coach Brewer, gave me a different kind of light because my grandmother, and I took off. And that explains it, man. But my grandmother, that's an interesting story. Make a long story short, my grandmother ended up passing away. Coach Brewer drives me 6 hours to her funeral. Then we drive another so often to go play in the game that night. And she's the reason, because I had an opportunity to leave Morehouse. I had opportunity, a lot of people don't know, I had an opportunity to transfer and go bigger. But my grandmother on her deathbed, you know, told me, look, I want you to graduate from Morehouse. And it was just in her plans. And she's been watching over me since, and I stayed. So that's the deal.
See, Horace, this is the only reason I do Hoya Locker Room, man, for a story like that. Yeah. For a share like that. All that other stuff, don't get me wrong, the accolades are here. That makes it possible, right? But a story like that, man, you're not gonna get that anywhere else. So transitioning into you, Horace, I had to go back and look at your coaching career, because I was fortunate enough to play with Horace for 2 years.
Okay.
Horace was way more talented than I could ever be. You know, instant offense. At some point in time during his freshman year, decided to play D. And after that, it was like, okay, this dude playing on both sides of the court. You know, I'm 2 years ahead of him. When he coming in the game, you know, when dude coming in the game, you don't mind. You like, okay, that's an upgrade coming in the game right now.
Yeah, right.
So, and him and I had some instances together in the Kentucky game. And I'm sure he don't remember it, because it's one of those plays that nobody but a defensive cat like myself would appreciate.
Right.
But I think it was in the second half, and Blackman was a freshman. Blackman, they threw a pass or something. Horace jumped in the way and forced him into a turnover. And that's when, we ain't really do the high five. We still did the low five. I went over to Horace and gave him a low five, and he was looking at me like, dude, I ain't do nothing. Nah, man, you got to the spot. You got to the spot that forced the turnover. So that's the love I got for Horace. But I just want to run off your coaching career. 92 Florida A&M, 94 Bethune-Cookman, 95 to 97 Valencia Community College, 97 to 02 Bethune-Cookman, 2005 to the present Savannah State. 3 times Coach of the Year in the MEAC. Wow. I don't know if they asked that question at the Georgetown game, would anybody know? That's how successful I think you've been as a coach. So again, I wanted to give you that love. I'd like for you to talk about the law and how you transition from the law and then combine it with the hoops. Because you're still on some law practice down there. So I know you still can, if you need some help, I know you give us some help, but if you can talk about that and share what that's like, but much respect to you, man, much respect.
No, I appreciate that. Just here, man, listening to Harold and Larry, man, I'm like, hey, man, sign me up, man. Sign me up sign me up to Morehouse, man. Sign me up, baby. Sign me up. I had some of them stories at Georgetown, sitting in the classroom with some academics too, and people saying that, hey, I'm gonna be the mayor of Chicago. I'm gonna be the senator of this, and I'm sitting there as a dumb freshman, like, dang, you thinking that far down the road? No, but just listen to you, Harold, man. I mean, I know Gene asked me a question. I'm not answering it, but
that's okay. You can. This is not school. You can skip over the question. Bring me something better.
I'll come back with it. But just listen to Harold. Some of the recruits that I get here at Savannah State is from alumni, grandparents. The ones that I really, really want, I can't get. Then people say, hey, coach, man. This kid right here really could play. He could really play a former alumni, former basketball player. I remember Gio Schuler. And I kicked him out of practice. I said, man, don't even come around my practice. I don't know who you are. But Mark sent me here. I said, I ain't got time for you. Just like Harold and Larry, man, he turned out to be one of my better players to come through the program. And he was kind of like a walk-on show up from a former alumni that was pushing him, and he became one of the best players to come through the program. So just listening to y'all guys' stories, y'all failed early and you failed often, but your success, I mean, y'all learned from that. And I think the HBCUs, they're gonna put obstacles. Well, they ain't gonna try to put obstacles in front of you, but there's gonna be some obstacles in front of these guys. Because I tell some of my players, I say, hey, responsibility, man. And hey, coach, can you do this for me? Nope, do it for yourself. Find, make it work. And once you get through those 4 years at a HBCU, you're not being catered. I could talk a lot about my son being recruited a little bit at Georgia, just going up there watching all that stuff that Georgia had. They could eat 24 hours a day. They could, it's just they could go in the gym with their thumbprint. They could do everything. And I'm sitting there scratching my head. I'm saying, man, after 4 years, these guys ain't gonna know how to survive because everybody did everything for them. And just listening to Harold and Larry, Morehouse prepared y'all. You probably didn't think that you was being prepared. But, it's almost like Coach Stockton, Gene. He used to mess with us talking about you're not gonna be on scholarship. You ain't on no lifetime scholarship. So, but nah, I mean the HBCU is great from that perspective because it really prepares guys. Some of my guys, I don't give all full scholarships. And somebody called me the other day and said they wasn't registered. I said, it'll work its way out. They'll figure it out. And sure enough, they'll figure it out. I help them as much as I can. I'm a resource, but a lot of it's about responsibility and being able to stand on your own 2 feet. And that's what Coach Thompson tried to do with us as preachers every day in practice, being able to stand on your own 2 feet. Now, what was your question?
I'm going to jump into Larry now. I can't go backwards. But whatever jewels you dropped were priceless.
Nah, I want to go to Morehouse, man. Sign me up, man.
So Mr. Lewis, you mentioned a 19-year pro career professionally. You played 10 years in Spain, 4 years in Japan. You served the bid in Argentina, and I'm leaving something out. I think I'm leaving out you played on the Pan Am team in '95. You've worked in the G League for the Lakers. You worked for the Kings, and now you're an assistant coach at UC Santa Barbara. Can you share what that journey's been like? Just give us because I'm sure it wasn't ideal. Because again, Morehouse doesn't prepare you to be an NBA executive, but it certainly gives you the skills to be anything that you want to be, anything that you strive to be. So if you can just touch on that illustrious career, and then Harold, I'm going to ask to do the same thing because you span the globe as well.
So the one very important aspect of the experience, the Morehouse experience, is adaptability. So, and like Coach Broadnax was saying, there's a responsibility that we have as young men that we don't really accept. We want someone else to do it. We ask for this help, we ask for that help, but we have an inner power that we haven't tapped into, and that the institution forces us to tap into. What's going on at the time, we might not know. So before I graduated, I went and played in Dominican Republic. And so I went there and played, and then came back and finished and got my degree. And then I played in the CBA and the summer leagues and the Pan American games and all that. And so that adaptability didn't have me stuck on like playing in the NBA. Of course, I wanted to try it out for the Hawks, tried out for the Bulls, tried out for Orlando, got cut. And my blessing was overseas, and I, being adaptable, I was able to accept that and go full throttle in that direction. That's where the opportunity was. I love the game. If I could play it there, I could play it anywhere. So that was one thing. Another thing is just going through the registration process at Morehouse was a challenge.
Hey, Larry,
all these inside jokes.
You guys better listen to this. I'm gonna say this. Preach, Larry, preach.
Hey, not at Morehouse, is it? That's
What?
I thought it was only at Savannah.
Go ahead. I'm gonna let Larry.
Morehouse has a PhD in a difficult registration process. The institution has a PhD. But see, that's one of the things that's what I'm talking about. These challenges force you to be patient, force you to understand there's a process. Everything's not given. Most things are not given. The best things are earned and take time. So in my travels, there are a lot of ups and downs, a lot of challenges, but my mind was already prepared without me knowing. Being a young man, 17 years old, I got to Morehouse, and upon graduation, I was prepared for a lot. And to this day, you stick things out. You finish what you start. Then your decisions become a little more concrete because if you start something, you're wired to finish them. So there's some things I'm just not going to start if I'm not going to give it that full 100% effort. I want to achieve it. I want to do it. I want to be very, very good at it, if not the best. So when I retired from playing, I was 1 month away from turning 40, I think it was. And the coach I played for in the CBA, Eric Musselman, he's now in Arkansas, was the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers G League team. So I called him. I said, whatever you need, I'm there. He said, we have nothing right now, but I'll keep you in mind. He called me 20 minutes later, said, how far away are you from the gym? I said, how far away from the gym are you? I said, about 15, 20 minutes. He said, I need you to get here immediately. So I got in the car, went to the gym, and they created a position. And so 2 years with the G League team, and then Kobe's last 3 years with the NBA franchise. And here's why I bring that up. Harold mentioned the professionalism at Morehouse within the student body. Because I believe before you get to be a doctor, before you get to be a professional athlete, a professional anything, you have to be that first. You have to have that mindset first. And then you flourish into that professional, whatever it is. By the time I got in front of someone like Kobe Bryant in the NBA coaching staff, I had been a professional for so long that I already spoke the language. I didn't even know it, because there's an approach that we have to develop. And when you're serious, and I wasn't always serious about anything, but when I decided to play professionally, there are some things about my life I had to let go because it's just not a part of the formula. And it's not personal. There's certain people I had to let go. But if I'm gonna play professionally, there's some things that I have to do, and there's some things that I just can't do. And it just breathes and it breathes and it breathes into, it morphs into these new situations in your life. And what happened in that case, it was about 20 years ago, right? The seed was planted, and I was able to get to the point where I can handle the lifestyle, the attention, the pressures of being a professional athlete, and then working at the highest professional, franchise in the NBA, right? And so now with UC Santa Barbara, and the principles never change, right? The same principles working with Kobe, the same principle with the player that does not even get in the game in college. It's the same. The principles never change, right? But that right there, the experience at Morehouse, right? It just leads into another experience. It leads into a new experience, but the mindset just gets better. You apply it differently. You just keep on growing from it. And to this day, I'm growing from this conversation right here, you know?
Appreciation. Very much appreciated.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump into you, Harold, and ask you to kind of give me your words on this. Just your story of not playing in high school and how you got to Morehouse, and the fact that you played for 2 NBA teams, the Clippers and the Nuggets. Career high of 29 points. I peeped that. So clearly you about buckets. But what was impressive to me is what you did overseas. Two-time coach of the year, as well as an all-star player. I thought that was mad impressive. You've been a scout for the Hawks. You work with the Pistons. You're with the Pistons organization now. You work for the Magic. Just speak on that journey. Again, not all ideal, I'm sure. We had a brief conversation because there's a mistake on the flyer that was put out for today's show. Harold is actually, he's a pro scout with the Pistons, not the Magic. And thanks to his young daughter, she caught it for us. And I say young because we should have caught that and we didn't. I think it just speaks to how many things you had going on at the same time, and what was a misprint could change tomorrow, because I think that adaptability thing that Larry talked about, that just resonated with me based on the conversation we had this morning. So if you could give us your words of wisdom and highlight some ups and downs.
Hey, before I start, I got to say something about my daughter really quick. Guys, this is always important. My daughter had a 4.0 this year at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, and I'm really, really happy. So, hey, when you have a 4.0, you catch everything. That's Sydney Ellis. I got to give her a shout out. I don't even know if she's probably at the beach somewhere. I don't know. But I just got to brag on her today for that, and that comes from family support, man. My wife, she does a good job with her. And like I said, I claim my son. Basically, she has her. So the 4.0 is really, really good in the Ellis household. She was Ellis of the week, basically. All right. So let me. My story is really, really interesting with Morehouse, and it comes back to Morehouse, and Larry touched on it. See, Morehouse is one of those institutions where everybody goes there. They do something for the first time, whether it's starting a magazine, finding a vaccine, starting their own mega church, or being somebody really important. So the only thing we hadn't had when I was at Morehouse, we hadn't had a pro. So for Larry and I, it was tough because I got to go back to Georgetown. I got to go back to Duke. I got to go back to all these schools because they all had a pro. They had coaches that worked in the NBA. They had industry people. So for me starting off at this time, Larry was still playing in Europe when I was trying to figure it out in the NBA. So I couldn't even call Larry on the phone or whatever, unless I was trying to sign him, which that's another story because I did try to bring Larry, but it's hard to, man, West Coast guys want a lot of money. So I'm just letting you guys know that right now, but that's not the story. But
That's funny.
I went to Morehouse. What I wanted to be, and I know this sounds crazy, I wanted to be the first ever pro. I wanted to be the first guy to play in the NBA for Morehouse. That was a goal. I set it as a sophomore, and I wanted to be that. So my surroundings, my setup, I got to go back to the fraternity guys again because those guys really pumped me up and they helped me achieve my dream. My family, they helped me achieve my dream of getting in Morehouse, getting out and becoming the first pro. So of course, when you come from HBCU, your first time around, you don't make it. You don't make it. You don't make it. You don't make it unless you elite. I was just figuring out our high school at Morehouse, Larry, I know you remember this. Now, this is going to blow you guys' mind. So if we had a test or homework at Morehouse, don't show up for practice. Our coach didn't want you to come to practice. We had to go to class. We couldn't come to practice if we had a test, final, anything like that. So we were like, we didn't have a lot of gym time. So I was really raw. It's a lot of things I couldn't shoot. Larry could shoot. I couldn't shoot, but I could do everything else. But I couldn't practice that much unless it was late at night. So, because we had to always, if it was a test, anything major, we had to be in class. So my first time out, I go to a place called Quad City, Iowa, right? It's the CBA, toughest league in the world. Everybody thinks the NBA is tough. Grown men play in the CBA. I was a 21-year-old, 20-year-old kid playing against 30-year-olds that took care of their family off $1,000 a week budget. Grown man league. So you had to go in there and you had to make the team. So the CBA, the first time around, I remember the coach looked at me and said, it was cut day. So it was between myself and another guy. And he asked me, he said, hey, what are you going to do if you don't make the team? Now, I'm going to tell you how Morehouse prepared me because I'm looking at all my friends, my line brothers, all these guys were making more money. They had more degrees. They had all this kind of stuff. I'm trying to play for like $400 a week in Quad City, Iowa. I said, Coach, I'm going back to grad school. Honestly, if I don't make it, I'm going to grad school. And this was pre-NBA. I wanted to play, but that wasn't my goal. I'm already off my dream. My dream was to be a doctor. That was gone. That's gone. So now I got to figure out something. And the coach ended up cutting the other guy. He kept me. And when he kept me, that changed my life again. But I had been battle tested, man. I didn't play in high school, got to Morehouse, a black college coach, Arthur McAfee and Grady Brewer. They pumped some life into me and gave me a different kind of guidance that helped me become a pro. I got this CBA guy, minor league guy. You look over these guys because these guys, you don't even know these guys' names now. All you know are these finished products. But it helped me become an NBA player. So while I was in NBA, I had a coach, Bill Fitch in LA, and he told me, he said, man, Ellis, I'm gonna tell you something. I like you as a guy, but you're just not a good basketball player. I'm in the NBA. I'm thinking like, what are you talking about? I'm one of the top players in the country, in the world right now. He's like, nope, you're really not that good. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna teach you how to work in the business. Now this might have been this is my second year in the league. And I thought work in the league. I said, work in the business. I said, man, I'm just starting. I'm gonna be playing in the NBA like 10 years. That's what I'm thinking. The guy, of course, that next year, the end of the year, he said, hey, I get cut, go back to the minor league, go back to Europe, had a great season in years in Greece and Spain, and come back, made the NBA again or whatever. But at the end of the day, he got back to basically I had to figure it out and I wasn't good enough. But I'm gonna tell you what Bill Fish told me. He said, look, man, I want you to sit next to me on the bench every game and listen and learn. He said, I know your college background. Now, Bill Fish is one of those coaches that does his homework. So he knew I came from a really good background. He wanted me to teach me how to work in the business. He said, trust me, you're gonna be in the business longer than you are a player. And as a young kid, I didn't know. I was like, hey, look, this is crazy. I want to go to another team or whatever. And it's interesting because my dad is one of those strict dudes, and I call him back. And my first thing I tell my dad when the coach told me, my dad tells me, I told you you weren't good enough. I told you that. You should have gone and back to get your master's, like I said. But that's my dad, though. Now that's old school. So I said, whatever. Long.
Did it freeze?
I think you and I hear you. Harold,
You good?
Horace, you good?
Yeah, I'm still good.
I think Harold might have froze. He was getting into it too. When he says long story short, I know it's gonna be more. And from now,
H froze.
He should have preached a little bit. He should have been a preacher.
I'm telling when that's funny you say that, Juice, because when I meet him, I'm gonna refer to him as Dr. Ellis or Reverend Harold, one or the other. He killing it. But that's cool because we coming up on an hour, and I appreciate your time so much, particularly on a Sunday, because I know for a lot of us this is family time, and this has already been an incredible. Last year was an incredible year. We're still going through some things, and I really value your time. But Horace, I kind of want you to bring it home for us in this regard. I know what the common thread for me in this program, and I think each of you illustrated that even more. The Morehouse experience for us, Broadnax, is Coach Thompson. That's our Morehouse. We got that I got that every day for 4 years. So that in and of itself is why, if I see you, I'm going to embrace you probably versus giving you a pound, versus versus a fist pump or whatever. So if you can bring us home under that, guys, under that umbrella, Horace, I'd really appreciate it, because I think you being where you are professionally positions you better than anybody else, particularly from a Hoya standpoint. And I haven't told you, and I'm trying to tell you in this show, man. I'm so proud of you, though. That goes without saying. I just think this program kind of illustrates that, and if you can kind of chop that up, I'd love it.
Yeah, man, I definitely appreciate Harold and Larry, man, from that Morehouse experience. That institution is just amazing. Like Gene was saying about Coach Thompson was an institution in itself. And definitely I learned a lot. Me and Gene learned a lot. I was listening to Harold talk about you missing classes. I remember Miss Finland was fighting for us, our academic advisor. She was fighting for us. Hey, John, get these boys some days off. Because back then, Larry, I don't think it was the NCAA hour limitation. So
right.
Miss Finland was like, give them boys some time off. They need to study. They need to prepare. They ain't going to class. They ain't gonna prepare. We're gonna stay on the court. So, but nah, that institution, Coach Thompson was an institution just like Morehouse, man. And I wish I could, some days I wish I could go back and get back up under that tutelage. A lot of times I don't wish to get back up under that tutelage, like you were saying, Larry. I mean, he was preparing. And one thing I took away from Coach Thompson was responsibility. You know what I mean? You got to learn how to stand on your own 2 feet. You got to figure this stuff out because you're out there in the world. I mean, you think you're on scholarship for the rest of your life, but as soon as you step out there, and it's a different current. It's moving fast, and you just have to get out there and make it work. And that's one thing that I took the initiative. I wasn't that talkative or that, I was kind of laid back, as they would say at Georgetown. But when I was out there and the fire was to your feet, you had to make things happen. Because I wanted to coach. I decided to coach. I think Gene mentioned a little bit about practicing law. I went to law school and I had a choice to go practice or coach. And I talked to a lot of people at the firm that I was working for, and they said, hey, I'll be doing something different if I was you. And I wanted to coach. And they said, you always get back into the law. So I went to coach. And, it wasn't like everybody was saying, hey, you went to Georgetown, you played at Georgetown, Coach Thompson. Yeah, come on and be a part of my staff. And that's where I went to FAMU. I just knocked on the door and volunteered. And, it's one of my best decisions ever because it got me in the game. And I try to tell a lot of young guys, it may not be their route. I say, hey man, you know, keep your resources tight, keep your funds together. And if you want to get into coaching, I mean, obviously it's very competitive, but if you volunteer, you show up and somebody says, let me evaluate you for free. And most people will do it. They'll evaluate you for free. And so I was able to get into MEAC, and the next year I got a job at Bethune-Cookman College, working in that profession. So, you know, a lot of things that Coach Thompson said, man, I wanted to coach because of Coach Thompson, and I wanted to try to do it a little bit different from Coach. Gee, if you know what I mean. But
yeah, I'm shaking my head because even if you did,
Reverend Ellis is back.
Reverend Ellis is back.
I'm back.
All right.
Hey, Horace, even if you wanted to do it a little bit differently, you were going to do it different because couldn't nobody do it the way he did it, though.
yeah, I told him I should have been the greatest coach ever, but I tried to emulate him. So
Please tell us what he said when you said that.
I don't know. You know, he probably I can't. This is not X-rated, you know. But
well, only because Larry and Harold are on here. Because if they weren't on here, you know, Marco would be hitting the pause button on me.
oh man, he's just an education in himself. You know, we graduated from Georgetown. We got a degree from Georgetown. We got an education from Georgetown, but we also got an education from Coach Thompson. Unbelievable. I have to hit him once a week about something. I was at a graduation at Savannah State, and I seen the number 118, and I remember messing with Coach Thompson about that 118 because he said his dad used to play that number every day, 118. He used to go play the lottery 118, and I used to say, Coach, man, once you stop playing that number, why you stop playing the number and put that money in your pocket? And man, he lit into me. He said, do you know if that number came out, what my daddy would have did to me, and I hadn't played this number? But I mean, it's just like how these guys talk about Morehouse. You know, I talk about Coach Thompson all the time. You know, you're not on scholarship. You don't have a lifetime scholarship. You're not going to be on scholarship. One day in practice, he was saying, update your resume. Just like Larry and Harold, you know, Coach told us if we wasn't playing well, he'll say, hey, man, y'all need to update your resume. What you mean, Coach? Because I'm getting ready to fire your ass. So
wow.
Update your resume. What's some other ones, James? He's talking about, hey, Miss Finland, we got guests. I said, guests. Break out the silverware. We got guests. You know, Horace, you ain't staying here long. I got to get rid of you. I got to get something. And I mean, I tell my players, you got to get better, and I got to get better. Because that's what Coach Thompson, he ain't said it that way. I say, your job is to get better. My job is to get better players too. But Coach Thompson used to say, I'll recruit over your ass. So that made you know, he ain't recruit over me, you know. So, but nah, man, Coach Thompson and just you know, the Morehouse. I mean, he had a reverence for the legends in the business, the black coaches in the business, man. He used to talk about those guys all the time. They used to be so humble. I never seen him so humble. It was Coach McClendon. I think it was McClendon. We met him in person, and I ain't never seen Coach Thompson. You know, Coach, he's big, loud, talking tribe, but he was so humble, man. He was just like at the like almost set at the need of this guy, because he opened the way, man, and he understood history, and he taught us a lot of history, a lot of things that you didn't know. He was brutally honest. I'm pretty sure like Morehouse was brutally honest with y'all guys too in certain things, because they saw beyond these 4 years, and I think he saw, you know, but beyond the 4 years of what we were doing, and it helps a lot. You know, when I was in law school, I wanted to quit, and then I had to have a moment. I said, man, I went through 4 years of Coach Thompson, and I'm worried about taking some exams in law school when Coach Thompson used to tell hey, I'm gonna send you back to Florida where the sun is shining. I'm gonna send you back to Florida. So, no, man, it's been great, man. I'm glad I came, and like I tell these guys, they signed me up with the Morehouse. I think if I had the opportunity, my two sons, one in the Navy and the other one is getting ready to go to Duke. I might have had to send them down to Morehouse.
Yeah.
Harold, when you bumped out, I just illustrated what I think each of you have echoed. I just the common thread for this episode or this broadcast is our Morehouse at Georgetown was Coach Thompson.
Right.
So I mean that's the thread throughout that has kept tapping me on the shoulder. And I could, like I said, I thank each of you so much for your time. This is invaluable. I hope there are, not just hoopers out there, but just people that have gone to Morehouse, gone to Georgetown, inspiration. I think this is just from people who have they're sharing their journey. And I think this is a really good opportunity to take in some really good perspective, particularly during this time. I'd like, if Markham's still available, I'd like him to jump in and give a summation because he was instrumental in putting this together. Again, guys, I can't thank you enough. And I salute Hoya, salute each and every one of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you,
I just want to say thanks to you guys. Really glad that Horace brought up Coach McClendon, who a lot of people don't know was the first Black head coach in any sport. And I had that same experience, Horace. Like you're very right. His Big John was not a humble guy 99% of the time, but when Coach Mack came in the gym, it was I wanted him to stay. he was behaving differently, It was great to have him around, and he coached at Tennessee State, at HBCU, and I really want to hear before we log off. Harold said he had a John Thompson story, so. I think it would be great to close out with that. I don't know what this is.
Hey, Markham, before you go, Coach Thompson used to sit, in the middle of the bench and the two assistants on the side, and everybody thought that was strange, but that was just his legacy to Coach McClendon.
Tribute.
That's how which is smart. I did it too, because you got assistant coach on your right, you got assistant coach on your left. It's different, but it makes a lot of sense. But a lot of people don't do it.
Yeah, it's different. Only problem with that is you ain't gonna get a Harold Ellis sitting next to you like Bill Fitch, so you can figure out the business.
Right. Hey, well, this is gonna really lead into the story. So, guys, I used to do this. I still participate with Basketball Without Borders in Africa. So I had to, and secretly, I grew up a Georgetown fan. I love Coach Thompson. I watched him coach from a distance. So I do the Basketball Without Borders, and Big John is on the trip. So I'm elated, right? So he's there, Zoe's there, Dikembe's there, and Patrick. Patrick is there. So it was one night, we were all up late. So in the Basketball Without Borders up late, everybody's, pretty much having whatever, cocktails, wine, or whatever it is. So I was basically sitting there because I wanted to hear, I just started kind of coaching, and I was in Detroit, and I wanted to know, I want to get some coaching expertise from John Thompson, the guru of really all the Black college coaches.
I already know where this is going, Horace.
Right. So I had a kid that he had, right? So I said, Coach, and he didn't know me. He knew me by the time in the trip, but I said, Coach, I told him, he said, yeah, I know, yeah, what I seen, whatever. I said, I had one of your guys. I want to ask you, how did you deal with it? He said, who did you have? I said, I had Chuck. Chuck is Allen Iverson. And he said, really, you had Chuck? I said, Coach, how in the world? Because I'm looking at John Thompson because I know he's a no-nonsense guy. He doesn't put up with anything. And I said, wait a minute, I just had Allen Iverson. And man, look, if he came to the gym, we were happy. We were just happy if he was in the gym because we just didn't know after the game, after the plane, right, anything, if he came to the gym was good. Let me tell you, this boy is good. He's better than most people on most nights with full night's sleep. I'm just telling you, right? So I asked him, and he said, let me tell you a story. He said, you want to be a good, successful coach in this business, this is what you better learn. He said, you better learn how to handle your players like Allen Iverson. Chuck, that's what he was saying. You got to handle Chuck. He said, well, this is how I handle Chuck. I said, what did you do, coach? He said, before games, John, tell me, now you guys might know this story. You might know the building. He said, man, all the kids would load up on the bus. He said he had a rule. If you were late, if you had to be on the bus before he got on the bus, I don't know if that's how true that is, but if you weren't on the bus, when he got on the bus was gone and that was it. That was done. I don't know what he would do to you. I don't know all that stuff. You guys know better. So he says, Allen Iverson shows up to Georgetown on campus. He gets Chuck. So he's in his office. So Chuck, of course, is late all the time. So the bus is waiting. So all the guys, all the teammates said, we're going to see if he's going to leave. We're going to see if he's going to leave Chuck. We know he's not going to leave Allen Iverson. That's what the players were saying, right? We know he's not going to leave. And the assistant coaches waiting on to do something too. So this is what Big John showed me. He said, now this is when you become a good coach. I said, golly, so man, you had to leave Chuck. I'm sitting there like, I messed around and almost got fired fooling around with Allen Iverson. We should have just left this guy. You know what I mean? And this is the end of Allen Iverson. And this is the old Allen Iverson, not the younger one. So he says, I'm going to tell you a trick. He said, now I told him that bus, if you ain't on the bus when I'm on the bus, that bus is gone. That's it. You're done. You're cut from the team pretty much. He said, well, what I used to do is, he said, the players don't know this, and only one assistant coach knew this. He said, let me tell you, I'm smart. I'm also a smart coach too. I do a lot of stuff. John Thompson had his assistant coach. He would wait. If Allen Iverson was 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour late, Big John was not get on that bus unless Chuck's on the bus. So he would have his assistant coach call him on the cell phone. John said he would be in office. Call him on the cell phone and say, hey, Chuck got on the bus. And then John Thompson act like he's, coming down, get on the bus. Now, that's Big John. That's y'all coach. Now, he taught me a lesson. He said, you get the lesson? I said, Coach, I get it. Because I'm thinking John Thompson, a no nonsense, he ain't putting up with nothing. But when a kid is special, when they special and you're in this coaching game, Larry had Kobe. When they special, you better make arrangements. And I'm telling you, Big John looked at me. I couldn't believe it. I started laughing. He said, yeah. He said, my assistant coach and get this, and the assistant coach knew, he better be on that bus. Don't let me get on that bus, and I'm not going with Allen Iverson on that bus to this game, to the Big East tournament. It was unbelievable. So that's my Georgetown story. That's my Big John story, man. I'm just telling you.
That's adaptability.
That's adaptability.
Adaptability.
Big John won all those games, but he wasn't a fool winning all those games. And he knew Chuck would win them some games.
That's one thing I learned as coaching, man. And I'm not going to create rules. My AD said, hey, man, give me 1,000 rules. I say, my rule is responsibility. I said, I'm not going to create rules that's going to hurt my best player. So I keep my rules limited because the players will look at you. And Bobby Knight and Coach Thompson later on, I said, hey, man, I ain't creating all these rules because if I create all these rules, my best player going to get caught up in these rules. So, so Coach Thompson was smart in that.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach Thompson, that's one thing. He was one intelligent dude, man. He knew how to motivate people. He knew how to get the best out of you. And he grew up in DC with you.
Man, we set up every night in Africa listening to him. It's unbelievable because you guys know him. He just tells story after story after story. And man, we stayed up. So it took me to go all the way to Africa to find out how to coach simple high-end players.
Wow. Thank you. Thank each and every one of you.
Great.
Salute to you. I hope to see you in person one day. Just to, again, thank you. I can't thank each and every one of you enough. And best of you and yours during these trying and challenging times. And
hey,
please stay up. Yes, sir.
James.
Yes.
won't you tell these guys my favorite John Thompson story?
I'm not telling that story, Horace. I'm not. But please feel free to tell it, Horace, because I'm not going to tell it.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you how smart Coach Thompson is. I got to pull Gene's leg every time. You know, Gene said I was a shooter, and we in practice. And just how smart Coach is, Harold. Just like what you say, he's smart now. So we in practice, and Gene is a defensive stopper. I done told people I'll take Gene Smith, Patrick Ewing, and me. And I told him I'll beat all y'all, all of my teams that I played. That's all I need. I don't need 5. I need Gene, who's a stopper, Pat, and myself. But this particular day, Gene just shoot layups or he take charges or steal. But this particular day, we didn't have no 3-point line, but Gene just felt like he was going to take one. He was kind of feeling Steph Curry-like, you know, real deep. I said, damn, I'm wide open on the right. I said, why Gene ain't passed me the ball? He shot that ball, and before it could hit the rim, Coach Thompson blew that whistle. Son, what the hell? No, oh, hell no, son. You trying to get me fired. We cannot win with you taking no guy. And it's funny, but Coach Thompson was serious. He said, man, you trying to get me fired. You can't win with you taking no goddamn jump shots. I mean, he said a few other things too, but I never forgot that, man. Gene took that jumper and Coach said, hey, son, we can't win. Allen Iverson could take that shot, but not Gene Smith. Son, you can't Gene was the best defender by far than anybody I ever knew. This cat could D up. I mean, he could D up.
Hey, Horace, I hear you 100% on that because I love this dude, but he didn't play in the national championship game.
Oh, he twisted his ankle.
On what? On what, Horace?
On the layup.
A breakaway layup. Wasn't nobody close to this man, and he missed the national championship.
Hey, you know what?
Come on, man.
I'm not going to just let y'all talk about me.
Oh, he twisted his ankle by missing the layup. No wonder Coach Thompson said we can't win with you shooting jump shots.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark, I think you're the only one that knows that, Mark. But thank you very much.
Man,
thank you very much for pulling me into a conversation that I don't want to be in. And Larry and Harold, thank you for listening through that.
Oh man, thank y'all two guys, man.
Appreciate you guys. Nothing but love. Let's stay in touch. Markham, great show. Everybody be safe and sound out there.
Fellas.
Thanks for having us, man. Thank you.
Cheers.
All right. Hey, all right. Good to see y'all, man.
All right, good to see
All right.
you.
All right.